I'm 29, and until a few weeks ago, I thought my life was going exactly where it was supposed to. I've been with my girlfriend, Emma, she's 27, for almost 4 years. We met at a friend's birthday party, clicked instantly, and just never let go. We had no kids, but we had plans. We used to talk about moving to a bigger apartment, maybe even getting a dog. It felt stable, real. But looking back, I realized the cracks were there before I was willing to see them. Small things at first: her phone suddenly always on silent, turned face down on the table. Nights when she'd claim she was working late, or just needed some time to herself. I told myself it was stress, that everyone needs their own space. Then, one weekend she disappeared. 3 days. No texts, no calls. I went from panic to anger to desperation in that time. I told myself she might have had some kind of breakdown, maybe needed to get away from everything. But the truth? The truth was something I couldn't prepare myself for. By the second day of her disappearing act, I was losing my mind. I called her parents, her friends, even her work. Nobody knew where she was. I barely slept. My mind kept racing through worst-case scenarios. What if she'd been in an accident? What if she'd gotten hurt? On the third day, around noon, she finally texted me. Just a simple, "I'm fine. I'll explain later." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Nothing. But here's the thing, when the message came in, she forgot one detail. Her location was still being shared with me on Google Maps. We'd set it up months ago after a road trip, and she never disabled it. Out of pure desperation, I clicked it. My heart sank. She wasn't at her parents'. She wasn't at a hotel. She was in a small apartment across town. A place I didn't recognize. I sat in my car outside that building for almost an hour, debating if I even wanted to know the truth. Part of me prayed I was wrong, that maybe she was helping a friend or just needed space. But when she finally walked out, she wasn't alone. She was with another man, laughing, holding his hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. I don't remember breathing. I don't even remember leaving. Just the sharp, crushing feeling that something inside me had broken beyond repair. I didn't wait long. The moment she came home that evening, I was sitting at the kitchen table, waiting. My chest was tight, my hands shaking, but I knew I couldn't keep it in. When she walked in, she looked startled, almost guilty, like she hadn't expected me to be there. I asked her straight out, no soft words, no circling around. "Who is he?" For a second, she froze. Then came the flood of excuses. She said it was complicated, that she didn't mean for me to find out like this, that she needed clarity. I asked her how long it had been going on. She hesitated, then admitted. A few months. That was the punch in the gut. Months. While I was planning trips for us, talking about getting a dog, thinking of us as a team, she was already slipping away into someone else's arms. She tried to frame it like she was confused, like she didn't want to hurt me. But every word she said felt like a knife turning deeper. The worst part wasn't even the cheating itself. It was realizing how easily she could lie to me every day and still smile like nothing was wrong. I didn't shout. I didn't throw things. I just sat there, numb, listening to the woman I thought I knew unravel into a stranger before my eyes. After she confessed, something inside me collapsed. I couldn't even process her words fully. They echoed in my head like static. A few months. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was confused. None of it made sense because the woman standing in front of me wasn't the same one I'd loved for 4 years. The first wave was rage. I wanted to scream, to demand why, to ask what he had that I didn't. But the rage burned out quickly, leaving something worse: emptiness. It's strange how betrayal feels. It's not just sadness. It's like your entire reality has been rewritten without your consent. The memories I had, of us laughing in bed, planning our future, celebrating birthdays, all of them suddenly felt tainted, like they weren't even real anymore. I barely slept that night. I laid there staring at the ceiling while she cried beside me, muttering apologies that meant nothing. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her hand in his, her smile that used to be mine. I thought I was strong. I thought I'd be able to handle anything. But in those hours, I realized heartbreak doesn't just break you. It hollows you out until you don't even recognize yourself. The morning after, the apartment felt unbearably heavy. She tried to make coffee like nothing had happened, like routine could glue the pieces of us back together. But the sight of her moving around our kitchen, the same kitchen where we'd once cooked together, laughed, argued over burnt toast, felt surreal. She asked me if we could talk. Her voice was soft, almost pleading. She said she didn't want to lose me, that what she had with him didn't mean the same thing, that it was just a mistake she got lost in. For a brief moment, I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that love could somehow undo betrayal, that maybe this was just a nightmare we could wake up from together. But the reality hit me harder. Trust isn't something you can patch up with words. Once it's broken, it's gone. I looked at her and realized I couldn't spend my life waiting for the next lie. I couldn't keep pretending she was still the person I thought she was. So I told her the words that shattered us for good. I can't do this anymore. We're done. Her face crumpled. She begged, she cried, but I didn't waver. That was the decision. The only one I could live with. Walking away felt like ripping out my own heart, but staying would have killed me slowly. Breaking up with her wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a different kind of pain. The silence after she left was unbearable. Her clothes were still in the closet, her toothbrush still in the bathroom, her perfume still clinging to the sheets. Every corner of the apartment screamed her name. I tried boxing up her things, but every object cut me like glass. The sweater she used to wear on lazy Sundays, the mug she insisted was hers. They weren't just things. They were fragments of a life I thought we shared, and each one felt like a reminder that I wasn't enough for her. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake replaying every conversation, every late night she worked late, every time she looked at me and said, "I love you." I questioned everything. Was she lying all along? Did she ever love me at all, or was I just a placeholder until someone else came along? Friends told me to stay busy, to go out, to distract myself. But distraction doesn't erase betrayal. It lingers. It crawls into your head when you least expect it, whispering that you'll never be enough, that you'll never trust again. I wasn't just mourning her. I was mourning the version of myself that believed in us. The first weekend alone hit me like a truck. Saturday mornings used to mean pancakes, music playing too loud, her dancing around the kitchen in one of my t-shirts. Now it was just silence. Silence so thick it felt like it pressed against my chest. I tried reaching out to friends, but it wasn't the same. Sitting in a crowded bar, laughing at jokes, I still felt like I was behind glass, watching, but not really part of it. Everyone else's lives kept moving, while mine had stopped. The loneliness wasn't just about missing her. It was about missing us. Missing the comfort of knowing someone was waiting for me at home. Missing the little texts during the day, the shared plans for the future. Suddenly, my future was a blank page, and instead of freedom, it felt like exile. I caught myself scrolling through old photos more times than I'd like to admit. Trips, holidays, even stupid selfies on the couch. They weren't just pictures. They were lies frozen in time. She'd been cheating on me while those smiles were captured. That thought alone was enough to break me all over again. Loneliness isn't quiet. It's loud. It screams in your head at 2 a.m., asking why you weren't enough. For weeks, I lived in sadness. But eventually, sadness hardened into something sharper. Anger. Not the kind you scream out loud, but the kind that sits in your stomach, eating you alive. I started replaying everything, but this time with rage instead of grief. Every late night at work, every phone call she took in another room, every time she brushed off my questions, I saw it all differently now. She hadn't just made a mistake. She had chosen over and over again to betray me. And I hated her for it. I hated how she stole years of my life and left me questioning if any of it was real. I hated how she stood there crying, pretending to be the victim, when she had already destroyed me long before I found out. But the worst part, I hated myself too, for not seeing it sooner, for ignoring the red flags, for loving her so blindly that I let her lie straight to my face. That anger kept me awake at night, clenching my fists under the covers. I wanted to text her, to scream at her, to make her feel even a fraction of the hell I was living in. But I didn't. I knew if I reached out, she'd twist it, make me doubt myself all over again. So I swallowed the anger. And it burned. After the anger came the questions. Endless, gnawing questions that never let me rest. I became obsessed with trying to make sense of it all. Why him? Was he better looking? Smarter? Did he give her something I couldn't? I scrolled through her social media late at night, looking for clues. I even found myself searching for him. The guy she chose over me. I compared myself to him in every possible way, like some sick competition I never signed up for. And every time I felt smaller, weaker, less worthy. I kept asking myself when it started. Which of our memories were already poisoned by his presence in her life? Was she texting him while lying next to me in bed? Did she ever think of me when she was with him? The obsession was toxic, but I couldn't stop. I thought that if I could just get the answers, I'd finally have peace. But the truth is, no answer could fix it. Nothing could undo the betrayal. And the more I searched, the deeper I sank into a pit I couldn't climb out of. It wasn't about her anymore. It was about me, about the hole she'd left in me, a hole I was desperate to fill with something, anything, even if it was just the ugly truth. It all came to a head one night, about a month after we broke up. I was alone in the apartment, sitting on the floor with my back against the couch, staring at the walls like they were going to give me answers. The emptiness that had been quietly eating me finally exploded into something unbearable. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every sound, every vibration of my phone made me flinch, thinking it was her, or him, or some reminder of what I'd lost. My chest felt tight, like I was suffocating from the weight of grief, anger, and betrayal combined. I shouted into the empty room. I kicked the coffee table. I punched a pillow until my knuckles bled. It didn't matter. Nothing could get her out of my head. Nothing could erase the memory of her hand in his. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just heartbreak. It was trauma. Betrayal like that doesn't fade overnight. It leaves scars on your mind and soul. I hit my breaking point that night, not because I wanted to give up on life, but because I wanted to give up on the version of myself that still loved her. I cried until I couldn't anymore. And when the tears stopped, all I could feel was a cold, hollow anger that made me wonder if I would ever feel normal again. A few weeks after hitting that breaking point, I realized I needed something I hadn't allowed myself before: closure. Not for her, not for him, but for me. I needed to face the reality of what happened without letting it control my every thought. I reached out to her one last time. Not to beg. Not to accuse. Not to fight. Just to talk. I wanted to hear her side fully, even if I didn't like it. We met at a quiet cafe. She looked nervous, fragile, almost apologetic in a way that made me ache, but I stayed composed. I asked her why, not the petty questions anymore, but the deeper ones. What made her leave? Did she ever love me the way I loved her? She admitted it finally. She loved me in her way, but she said she had lost herself along the way and sought something she thought I couldn't give. She cried. I listened. I nodded. I didn't forgive. I didn't hug her. But I spoke my truth, told her how much she had hurt me, and finally left without looking back. Closure didn't feel like a big, dramatic relief. It felt like slowly letting go of a weight I'd been carrying in my chest for months. It was quiet, painful, and strangely freeing. After closure, life didn't suddenly get easier. Betrayal leaves cracks that take time to heal, and trust, the kind you once gave freely, doesn't come back overnight. I started small. I reconnected with friends I had ignored, poured myself into work, and even started seeing a therapist. At first, every time someone was kind, I expected a lie. Every compliment felt like a setup. Every friendly gesture made me tense. But slowly, step by step, I began to trust myself again. To trust my instincts. To understand that her choices were hers, not a reflection of my worth. It was a long process, full of nights when I still cried over the past, but I began to notice moments when I could breathe without her shadow in my chest. Trusting others became possible again once I realized I had to rebuild trust with myself first. That meant forgiving myself for being vulnerable, for loving deeply, and for believing in something that didn't last. It didn't erase the betrayal, but it gave me the strength to face the world without fear of being broken again. Moving on wasn't a sudden event. It was a series of small, almost invisible steps. I started saying yes to things I had avoided. Traveling alone, meeting new people, even dating casually. At first, every text, every coffee date, every smile from someone else felt like a test. Could I trust again? Could I let myself feel something new without fear? I learned that moving on didn't mean forgetting her. It didn't mean pretending the betrayal never happened. It meant acknowledging the pain, carrying the scars, and still choosing to live fully. I didn't stop loving, but I redirected that love toward myself. Toward building a life that didn't depend on someone else's choices. The apartment that had felt like a tomb after she left slowly became my sanctuary. I redecorated, replaced the broken reminders with things that made me happy. Each small change was a step toward reclaiming my life. And slowly, I realized that I was no longer her boyfriend in memory only. I was myself again, whole and capable of happiness on my own terms. Looking back, I can see things I couldn't in the moment. Betrayal doesn't happen in a vacuum. It exposes weaknesses in both people. Not to blame the victim, but to reveal truths we might not want to face. I loved deeply, maybe too much. I trusted blindly. And yes, she chose to betray that trust. But I also learned that love doesn't guarantee loyalty, and loyalty doesn't guarantee happiness. People are complicated, and sometimes love isn't enough to make them stay. I've come to understand that betrayal, as painful as it is, teaches resilience. It teaches you to value your own worth, to recognize red flags, and to trust yourself above all else. It taught me that heartbreak isn't just about losing someone. It's about finding yourself in the aftermath. I don't hate her anymore. I don't fantasize about revenge. I simply carry the lessons, the scars, and the knowledge that I can survive even the deepest pain. And maybe one day I can love again without fear. If there's one thing I've learned from this whole nightmare, it's that betrayal doesn't define you. It tests you. And how you respond, how you heal, is what shapes who you become afterward. I learned to value honesty above comfort, to recognize when my love was being respected and when it wasn't. I learned that walking away isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the bravest thing you can do. And I learned that no one has the right to make you feel unworthy, even if they were once the person you trusted most. To anyone going through something similar, let yourself feel everything: anger, sadness, confusion. Don't rush the healing, and don't let anyone else dictate how fast you should move on. Protect your heart, but don't close it off completely. Life is still waiting outside the walls betrayal leaves behind, and there's still love to be found. Love that doesn't come with lies. For me, the road is still long. Some nights are harder than others. But I'm here. I survived. I'm learning to love myself again. And that, above all else, feels like winning.